The Hunter, March 14, 1943. 340 nautical miles southwest of Iceland. Beneath 90 feet of black Atlantic water, Kapitänleutnant Klaus Bargsten pressed his eye against the attack periscope and smiled. 4,000 meters ahead, an American destroyer escort carved through the swells alone. Predictable, hopelessly outmatched. The USS Borif, probably 6 months out of the Philadelphia Naval Yard with a crew that still got seasick in moderate chop. Flooding tubes 1 and 3. Bargsten, mortar. His crew moved in practiced silence. U-256 had stalked these waters for 8 months. 13 confirmed kills. 2 commendations, and not a single depth charge had come within 50 meters of his pressure hull. The Americans were enthusiastic. He'd give them that, but enthusiasm didn't win naval warfare. Experience did, discipline did, and the Kriegsmarine had both in abundance. Target bearing 045, range 3-8-0-0. Solution confirmed. Bargsten's finger hovered over the firing trigger, but he didn't press it. Not yet. He wanted to watch her pattern first. Study air. The Americans had a doctrine they followed like scripture. Sprint toward the submarine's last known position. Drop a spread of depth charges in a line, then circle back and listen. Textbook, inflexible. The kind of tactic you could predict 3 moves ahead. Like chess against a schoolboy, U-256's hydrophone operator whispered from his station. "Sir, she's pinging. Active sonar. She knows we're here. Let her look," Bargsten said. He lowered the periscope and checked his wristwatch. "Helmsman, take us down to 120 meters. Slow to 2 knots. Rig for cylind, running." The destroyer's screws grew louder. Faster. She was accelerating now, turning to make her attack run. Bargsten could picture her captain on the bridge, young, probably an academy graduate, shouting orders about bearing and range while his crew scrambled to load the depth charge racks. It was all very earnest, very American. And it wouldn't matter. The first depth charges detonated 40 meters to starboard. The hull groaned. Light fixtures flickered. A coffee mug rolled off a chart table and clattered across the deck. But U-256 didn't buckle. Bargsten didn't even flinch. "Pattern is consistent with Type A approach," he said calmly. "Almost bored. Second spread will drop in 30 seconds, 70 meters aft of our current position. Maintain depth and heading." The second barrage came exactly where he predicted. Distant thunder. Shockwaves that rattled teeth but did no damage. Then silence. The destroyer screws faded. She was turning away now, heading back to her convoy. Her depth charge racks empty. Another failed attack. Another U-boat that got away. Bargsten raised the periscope one more time and watched her go. "Americans," he muttered, shaking his head. "All the steel in the world, and no idea how to use it." His crew chuckled. They'd heard this speech before. Bargsten was a hunter, and in the North Atlantic, in the spring of 1943, hunters still ruled. He didn't know it yet, but the rules were about to change. The Whisper, April 29th, 1943. U-boat headquarters, Lorient, France. 600 hours. The operations room smelled like stale cigarette smoke and salt air that had worked its way through concrete walls. Bargsten stood at the briefing table with 11 other commanders, studying a map of the North Atlantic dotted with red pins. Each pin represented a kill. His cluster sat dense and proud southwest of Iceland. Kapitän Werner Henk stood across from him, arms crossed, jaw tight. Henk commanded O-515, one of the most decorated boats in the fleet. 23 confirmed sinkings. A knight's cross around his neck, and for the first time since Bargsten had known him, the man looked worried. "They're using something new," Henk said quietly. "I don't know what it is yet, but it's not depth charges." The room went still. Bargsten frowned. "What do you mean? Not depth charges?" Henk pulled a folded report from his jacket and smoothed it on the table. U-187, U-632. U-both, with experienced commanders. Good crews, both lost in the last 3 weeks. No distress signals, no survivors. He tapped the paper. The British pulled bodies from U-632. Autopsies showed traumatic injuries consistent with close proximity but here, What does Zune make sense? The hull fragments they recovered showed impact points on the bow, not the stern. Not the bow. Bargsten leaned closer. That's impossible. Depth charges roll off the stern, they explode behind the target, underneath Italiano, never in front. I know, Hank said, which means they're not using depth charges anymore. Another commander spoke up. Kapitänleutnant Johann Moore. Uno dos cuatro, I encountered something similar off Newfoundland. American destroyer. She closed to 400 meters. Then suddenly there were explosions ahead of my position. I dove hard to 200 meters and cleared the area. But if I'd been 30 seconds slower, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Bargsten's mind raced. Forward-throwing ordnance. That didn't make tactical sense. Depth charges worked precisely because they were dropped astern. The attacking ship could clear the blast zone before detonation. A forward-throwing weapon would put the attacking vessel in danger from its own explosives, unless the weapon was designed differently. Unless it only detonated on contact. What's BDU saying? Bargsten asked. Referring to Befehlshaber, the U-boat command. Hank's expression darkened. Admiral Dunnett says we're being paranoid, that we're attributing tactical failures to phantom weapons. He lowered his voice, but 3 more boats haven't returned from patrol this month, and the British aren't talking. Neither are the Americans. The room fell silent again. Outside, gulls cried over the harbor. Somewhere a diesel engine coughed to life. Bargsten straightened. I'm returning to patrol in 6 hours. Western approaches. If I encounter this weapon, I'll report immediately. Hank met his eyes. If you encounter this weapon, Klaus, reporting might not be an option. Bargsten wanted to argue, wanted to dismiss it as defeatist talk from commanders who'd gotten slow, careless. But Hank wasn't careless. None of them were. These were the best submarine officers in the world. And they were afraid, not of destroyers, not of depth charges, of something they couldn't see coming. Bargsten left the briefing and walked down to the pier, where U-256 sat low in the water, her gray hull scarred and streaked with rust. His crew was already loading provisions, canned meat, torpedoes, diesel fuel. They moved with the efficiency of men who'd done this 100 times. His executive officer, Oberleutnant Rolf Zimmermann, appeared at his side. Sir, the men are asking questions, Zimmermann said carefully. Rumors from other crews about boats that aren't coming back. Bargsten lit a cigarette and watched the smoke drift toward the clouded sky. Tell them we hunt the hunters, he said, same as always. But as he climbed down the conning tower hatch into the familiar steel belly of the encounter, May 17th, 1943, 220 nautical miles west of Ireland, 340 hours. Surface patrol. The night was moonless and cold. U-256 ran on diesel engines, charging batteries, her conning tower cutting through light fog that clung to the water like smoke. Bargsten stood on the bridge in his leather coat, binoculars pressed to his eyes, scanning the horizon. Nothing. Just darkness and the rhythmic slap of waves against the hull. Contact! The lookout's voice cracked with urgency. Bearing 270, range 8,000 meters. Single ship. Destroyer profile. Bargsten swung his binoculars west. They're a dark shape against darker water. Bow wave visible, even at this distance. American or British, didn't matter. A target. A target! Clear the bridge! Dive! Dive! The lookouts scrambled down the hatch. Bargsten took one last breath of salt air and dropped inside. Pulling the hatch shut behind him, the klaxon blared. Men moved like water through the narrow corridors. Flood, negative tank. Take her down to 60 meters. U-256 nosed forward and slipped beneath the surface. The chaotic sounds of the surface world, wind, waves, diesel engines, gave way to the submarine's internal symphony, the hum of electric motors. The creak of steel under pressure. The quiet breathing of 50 men who knew their lives depended on silence. Level at 60 meters. Sir. Bargsten moved to the attack periscope. Up. Scope. The optics broke the surface. He rotated slowly. Found the destroyer. She was closer now, maybe 6,000 meters, and she was turning toward them. She's got us on sonar, the hydrophone operator reported. Active pinging, bearing constant. Of course she did, but that was fine. Bargsten had done this dance a dozen times. The destroyer would close, drop her charges in a predictable pattern, and U-256 would slip away while she reloaded. Bring 2s 1 through 4 to ready status, Bargsten ordered. If she wants to play, we'll give her a fish in the belly. But something felt wrong. The destroyer wasn't following doctrine. She wasn't sprinting to close the distance. She was approaching at moderate speed, 12, maybe 14 knots. Methodical, patient, range 5,000 meters. She's steady on intercept course. Bargsten watched through the periscope. The destroyer's silhouette sharpened. He could see the forward gun mount now. The bridge superstructure, and something else. A strange apparatus mounted on her foredeck. Not a gun, not a depth charge rack. It looked like a mortar. Multiple tubes angled forward at 45 degrees. Helmsman, right full rudder. Come to Hedden. 1 monsieur, take us down to 100 meters. U-256, banked hard. The destroyer adjusted her course to follow. Range 4,000 meters. Contact is maintaining pursuit. Bargsten's jaw tightened. She was good. Whoever commanded that ship knew what they were doing. But he'd shaken better hunters than this. Rig 4, depth charges. Silent running, cut speed to 3 knots. The submarine went quiet. Men froze at their stations. Someone's watch ticked audibly in the control room. The destroyer's screws grew louder. Closer Bargsten could hear her sonar pinging off the hull. Rhythmic, insistent, like a blind man tapping a cane. And then, nothing. The pinging stopped. Bargsten frowned. Why would she stop pinging when she was this close? She'd lose her WHAM. The explosion came from ahead of them. Not behind, not above. Ahead, the impact threw Bargsten against the periscope housing. Light bulbs shattered. Somewhere in the aft compartment, a man screamed. WHAM! WHM! Wham! 3 more explosions in rapid succession. The hull shrieked. Rivets popped. A spray of seawater burst from a pressure seal near the torpedo room. Damage report. Bargsten shouted over the chaos. Forward hull breach. We're taking water. Wham! Wham! 2 more. Closer. The deck tilted 15 degrees, but men grabbed handholds, pipes, anything to keep from sliding forward. Blow below. Emergency. Surface. Compressed air screamed into the tanks. U-256 clawed toward the surface like a drowning animal. Bargsten's mind raced. Forward detonations. Multiple impacts, a pattern that anticipated his movement instead of reacting to it. Hank had been right. They weren't fighting depth charges anymore. They were fighting something that hunted them the way they hunted convoys. The submarine broke the surface in a shower of white water. Bargsten threw open the hatch and climbed onto the bridge. Lungs burning. The destroyer sat 400 meters away, her forward mortar tubes already reloading. And in the pre-dawn darkness, Bargsten finally understood. He wasn't the hunter anymore.